Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to show you how I made this DIY solar fountain that, as you can see, my birds are enjoying out of Papercrete. I actually used a Papercrete bowl planter, the base of this, that I had made previously just as a planter, and I retrofitted it to use as my base for this fountain, and I made the top part with Papercrete and seashells to give it a little bit more of a decorative look. And if you're interested in seeing exactly how I did it, then keep watching. So as the mold for the top portion, I used this old saucer that I had lying around. And I picked up a couple of bags of seashells from the dollar store. If you have some lying around that you have collected yourself, that's awesome. You can use those as well. But you could find these pretty cheap at any dollar store, 99-cent store, Hobby Lobby, places like that. So I first, as always, I spray my mold with some oil. You can use any type of oil for this. This just ensures that your piece pops out of the mold easily. And I already have a batch of Papercrete mixed together to the side here. And if you're not familiar with Papercrete, it is a lightweight concrete mixture. It's 3 parts paper pulp, 2 parts Portland cement, and 1 part perlite. And if you want to learn more about Papercrete, I will leave a link down below to my Papercrete playlist where I go into more detail about the mixture, paper pulp, all those sorts of things. So I'm basically just taking handfuls of the mixture and pressing it into the mold. At this time, I didn't really know that I wanted to do a flower shape, so I was just pushing it in there. And I sort of saw the shape coming together and I thought, wow, that'll be a nice way for the water to spill into the bowl, because the flower shape obviously has some divots where the water will be able to naturally flow back into the bowl. So at first here you'll see that I just am pushing it into the entire thing, which that'll totally work as well. There's still space on the edges for it to fall over into the bowl, but I thought maybe the flower shape would be nice, so that's what I ended up doing. Just kind of pushing with my finger and then using this knife that I have. Basically, I just use it for this purpose, for working with Papercrete. And I'm sectioning out kind of where I wanted my petals to be with my knife, and then going in and making it more of that shape with the indentions on the side. And then I made a hole right in the center using my tubing, so I knew that I would have the right size hole. The next step I took was using my seashells to decorate the top. You could also use stones, you could also make impressions with leaves. I think there are so many different ways to get creative with this. And I really like the way that the seashells looked. I think maybe in the future I'll be doing a planter using seashells embedded on the sides. I think that would look really pretty. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below if you have any ideas or anything you would like to see me try. So what I normally do with Papercrete, once I am happy with what it's looking like, I will put it in a plastic bag and put it in a shady spot for a few days. and then take it out of the bag, and this is what I ended up with for this project. And it was really easy to take out of the mold, and you can tell when it's dry when it has a really nice light gray color. If you feel like it's still a little bit moist when you take it out of the mold, you can just kind of set it aside for a few days to let it completely dry. And then what I did was I took a little scrub brush and I really brushed the top of it and brushed those seashells to get any excess papercrete off of it and really let those seashells shine. So this is what the final look was for the seashells, and I decided to take a little bit of sandpaper to refine the edges a little bit and really get in those divots of the quote-unquote flower shape, and just kind of refine it. And you can do this with Papercrete, and that's what's really awesome about it. Even if it's dry, you can still go in and you can sand it down and get it to, you know, kind of refine the shape a little bit. You want to try your best to get it the shape you're going to want it to be in, so it's not too much work sanding it. But if there are little lumps and bumps you want to sand down, it's really easy to do so. So this is the planter that I had made previously that I am going to be using in this project as my reservoir. So this will be my base piece, and I decided to use Flex Seal. I have never used it before, but I decided that I would try it in order to waterproof the basin. So Papercrete is porous, so the water, you'd really have to refill it constantly in order to keep this fountain full of water. So I decided to use this Flex Seal because I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I figured if it can seal cement, it could seal Papercrete, and I am happy to report that it is working thus far. I also decided to do a coat of Flex Seal on the top piece just to protect it and just for longevity purposes. It also gave the shells a nice glossy texture, which is a bonus. So I used a solar fountain pump for this project, and I disconnected the, what you saw right there, that is what connects the solar pump to the panel portion. And I used a cork that I put a slit in so that the wire could fit in the slit, but I could really push the cork down into the hole to waterproof it. So I fed that through the hole. So basically fed it through until the pump was right at the base. And I will link down below the solar pump that I have in case you're interested in trying one. And then the cork, you can use any cork. I just used a wine cork, and I put a slit through it and put the wire through the slit and then pushed it down really as well as I could to waterproof it. And if you have any other suggestions on how to do this, I'm totally open. This worked well for me. It's watertight, but it wasn't the easiest thing to do. I first tried to put rocks in the base to hold up the top piece, but later I decided to use a like a plastic container that I cut holes into. That is what held up this top piece. It was kind of a platform for it, and it allowed the water to flow more freely. It just was hard with the rocks to get the pump to stay at the bottom and be able to maneuver around it. So this is one option, but for me it was too difficult, so I decided to switch it out, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But I just kind of wanted to show you my thought process and what I did in the beginning. And then I reconnected the two wires. So this is the panel piece and then the pump piece, and basically they stick together like a plug, and then you tighten them, you screw them together, and then once you put the panel out in the sun, the pump will start working. So this is where I staged it in my garden. It's right by a rosemary bush where I have, as you saw on the floor right there, that is another bird bath that I made. and it's full sun all day, so the pump works pretty well. One thing to keep in mind with these solar pumps is if you have any shade throughout the day, they will stop working or they'll work less. Or if you have overcast days, it will work less as well. So if you want something that's going to be consistent, I would suggest getting something that plugs in and is electrical, not solar. But here is where my solar panel is. And if you just kind of put it upside down on the floor, it'll stop working. And I'm going to show you here what I use instead of the rocks. So I just cut a hole in a container, and that is where I have my pump going in the center of that, and it rests right on top of the container and it's level, and that works so much better. And if you notice the duct tape, I did have to tape the little part that goes up and it connects to the tubing. I had to tape that onto the pump because it kept falling off, but that wasn't a big deal. It's working really well now and the birds are loving it. So I will leave some footage here of the birds if you'd like to watch them. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.